Okay, hello. Hello everyone, welcome to Academy of Astrology UK. I'm Rod Chang and today with me is Marcus Patchett.
Hello.
Hello. So today we decided we're going to talk about the Libra Ingress. Yeah, okay. In the North Hemisphere, we sometimes we call it autumn equinox. But it's I think this if you learn astrology, you must know these are the four cardinal points: Aries Ingress and Cancer Ingress and Libra Ingress and Capricorn Ingress are also the spring equinox and summer solstice and then autumn equinox and then winter solstice. For me, it's a kind of a
tongue twister, that one.
yeah. To be honest, yeah, it is. Yeah. So why it is important for us for the autumn equinox and then Libra Ingress, Marcus?
Okay, well, just first of all, it's the sun changing sign, so that's obviously a change of sort of mood and pace and whatever that happens all the time. But the every month, obviously. But the reason the ingress is into in the Libra ingress, or the autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere, the spring equinox in the southern hemisphere, the reason that's important is because it's one of the sort of pivotal changes in the year. So traditionally, astrologers would have used the exact time the sun changed sign as sort of to set up a chart for a particular location to determine what would happen in that quarter of the year for that location. So it's kind of like, this is why the cardinal signs are called cardinal, or traditionally were called movable as well, because they're sort of they're very important. It's sort of like when the sun enters those signs, it really sets the tone for that full quarter of the year. So I think that's one of the main reasons why it's important traditionally.
Yeah, it's about. I think I can guess it's also about a season.
Yes.
Yes, at the beginning of a season, and it's changing the season, and so now we are at the end of summer, and then we're going to get ready for the autumn.
Yeah, it's officially the beginning of autumn. So like when the sun enters Aries, it's like the first bit of spring.
Yes.
And Libra is the first bit of autumn. And it's really, because obviously when the sun's in Virgo, it's the crossover between the seasons. So we get a bit of summer weather and a bit of autumn weather. And then when the sun goes into Libra, it's really interesting. The weather will just, now we're in autumn. Everyone will suddenly feel it. So it's
well, I think if you live in UK, we constantly have something like a
kind of, but you notice it more. It's like that.
To be honest, yes,
and whatever, and although this does go to our friend Nathan or Theo, his southern tropical thing, which is
he used the southern tropical thing is pretty interesting, to be honest. I think there's one time he joined us in the evening talk, in the Sunday evening Montana astrology talk. You watched that, and then he used the southern one. I was like, that sounds very interesting, and well, why not? The season changing and corresponding to the Aries.
I think it's very logical. For anyone who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, check that episode out. It'll be on YouTube.
Yeah.
What was it called, Rod? Can you remember?
It's on the WorldScope. I think it's
WorldScope.
WorldScope.
It's on the Academy of Astrology channel, and it'll be WorldScope and a mundane astrology panel or something.
Yes. And very interesting talk. For the South Hemisphere, for him, he used this as a Aries Ingress.
Yeah, so he flips the zodiac in the southern hemisphere. Him and many others. It's not just like his.
Okay, so not him and many others. Okay,
yeah,
but it's very interesting.
Tropical zodiac. It's very controversial amongst astrologers.
Yeah.
But the idea is that in the southern hemisphere, if you're using the tropical zodiac, which is of course based on the seasons, it's separate from the constellational or sidereal zodiac, which the Vedic astrologers and Jyotishis use, which is based on the constellations. Our zodiac is based on the seasons, so it's not inconsistent to actually just flip the zodiac in the southern hemisphere. So it's very interesting.
It is.
For our purposes, it's the Libra ingress coming up. The sun will be changing into Libra. because it's and traditionally that was the sun's fall, which is where, of course, in America they say fall.
Yes.
It's very interesting because that's literally the origin of that.
Okay.
That season's name in America has a sort of astrological origin, I believe.
I
It's
see.
fall, but leaves falling from trees and things like that. But it's
Uh-huh.
because just as the sun's exalted in Aries in spring, when everything starts coming to life and growing and the light is increasing,
Sure.
in autumn the light is diminishing and life is departing and going
Okay.
downwards. So it's like the sun,
Yeah.
it's the fall of the sun. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that, but when I hear people say fall, I just think, oh no, I prefer cold autumn.
yeah. But you've been anglicized, Rod. You've been conditioned. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yes,
Do you know
true.
what I mean? If you went to America,
Neutralized. Yes, anyway, let's look a little bit about this Ingress chart, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here we set the Ingress chart in London. Okay, that's where Marcus and we are in. So I will use it in London, but we maybe if we have time, we will check up other location or something. And so here we are. So when you first look at this chart, oh my God, for me, because I'm more modern astrologer, so I use the outer planet. And when I see this Uranus and the ascendant and the Pluto is not far from MC, I just like,
it's kind of like, ew.
This is a hot season. It's not just cold.
It's hot in a bad way. I mean, I agree. I mean, I can give you my little traditional spiel, and then
please.
maybe you talk about the modern.
Sure. Let's do that.
Stuff. I mean, we can switch roles or whatever, but it's fine. I think my view, similar view from a traditional point of view, because you've got the Taurus rising, the ruler of Taurus, Venus, is opposing the ascendant in her detriment, Venus in Scorpio. So that, if you take, this is specific to London, folks, and the UK as a whole, because London is the capital of the UK. Well, England, but also somewhat the rest of the UK. So because Venus is in her detriment and rules the ascendant, the rising sign represents the people of the country. Venus, the people of the country, not happy, in a detriment, opposing things. And also in a square to Saturn.
Yes.
So Venus is squaring Saturn, the ruler of the 10th and 11th and 9th houses in the 10th. The 10th house is government. Saturn is the government going retrograde. So it's maybe the government going back on promises, maybe going back into, Saturn's all about restriction and limitation. So it's sort of going back into or going back into some kind of restriction, because it was the 9th house, which is to do with travel, the 11th house with wages. So it's kind of like the government's going, no, we're going to go back on things and maybe revert to lockdown and maybe stop travel and maybe blah, blah. And the people aren't looking too happy about it.
Yeah, very happy. Look at that, Venus in Scorpio. How happy we are.
Scorpio is like, sod that, I'm off down the pub, ain't going to do what you tell me, sorry about it. And so that's a bit of that. And then the other half of that is the moon. I mean, I've sort of analyzed this ingress already before, so I was kind of like, I've kind of got this down. But the moon is the people's mood. The moon's in Aries in the 12th house.
Yes.
The 12th house is the house of sort of imprisonment and self-undoing. The moon is in a sextile by sign to Saturn. It's too wide for an aspect, but so the moon's kind of in theory sympathetic to what the government is doing, but Aries hates Saturn. Aries is Saturn's fall, so Saturn falls in Aries. So the moon rejects what Saturn is doing. So the way I interpret that is that the people are divided. You've got the Venus is the ascendant ruler, kind of squaring Saturn, annoyed because she's ruled by Mars and wanting to sort of go out and go to the pub and maybe go overseas and not being allowed by Saturn and being really annoyed by it and sort of disobeying. I'm sure when you talk about Uranus, we can get into that because there's a whole vibe there. But then the moon in the 12th is the other half of the people. No, we need to get into lockdown. They're pissed off because they're ruled by Mars as well. And they're kind of agreeing with the government's proposals to revert to lockdown, but they're annoyed with the government for not taking enough action. They're like, and if you look at the moon and Venus, they hate each other. Venus is in the moon's fall, the moon is in Venus's detriment, and they're in aversion.
I see.
So the people are fully split. Half the people wanting to go back into lockdown in the 12th house, the other half the people wanting to go out and just sod that, and both of them are annoyed with the government, and both of them hate each other. So this is a very divisive time, I think.
Yes, but how do you interpret that Moon and the Venus both ruled by Mars, which ruled by rulers of seventh house? Are they have something both agree with something, or both influenced by something?
I would say it's more like they're both really preoccupied with whatever that Mars represents. And Mars in the sixth with the Sun, part ruling the seventh and the 12th. It's kind of like it's sixth house, obviously, to do with disease. Mars is inflammatory disease, but conjunct the Sun, that could be damage to heart. Sun ruling the fifth and being the heart and kidneys, because it's in Libra. And Mars is something to do with the seventh, it's foreigners or other people. In the 12th house, it's the hospitals and care homes. And so it's the people in different ways occupied and pissed off with the disease situation, the situation in care homes, with the situation to do with travel and going.
Yes, exactly.
It's all of the stuff you'd expect, but people are really inflamed by it, and that Sun-Mars conjunction in the sixth ain't helping. So
when look at this chart, and I have an impression about this, the things you're talking about, I just feel like it's because today UK government just announced they're going to scrap the amber country from the traveling list. So they're going to say, we're going to make it simplify, only have a red list. And then for people who traveling, they don't need to do the PCR tests. They only need to do the the flow agent thingy.
Which sounds great, but
that's why when you say retrograde, I would think.
Do you think they'll stick to it? I have my doubts looking at this chart.
Well, see our great government performing for last couple years. I would not surprise they
going just by track record. Yes.
We'll see. But because what you say is just remind me, we just received a message about like, hey, you got a green light, go travel, go play, go do whatever you like. And they even remove a lot of country out of a red list. Now you're going to see if this Saturn retrograde going to,
I think it's going to be interesting, because that Venus, the seventh house, also means overseas. So a bunch of people are wanting to travel, but that's square to that retrograde Saturn. It's Saturn retrograde is interesting, because retrograde often means, I've talked about this before, when Saturn's retro, the borders are defective. It's kind of like a planet retrograde is malfunctioning. I think people will be able to travel, but the issue might be the government will, over time, over this quarter, change their minds and go backwards on a lot of what they've said. And that probably, as I say, the people are going to be really divided on this. So I think some people will be going overseas despite it, and then maybe caught out a little bit or whatever. And other people will be really furious with the government. That's the Moon in the 12th for doing this. And we'll see.
Okay, I just received a question from YouTube. Our audience asked a question, and I think it's a question we discussed before, but I'm very happy to let Marcus explain it again. It's basically, I read it through. So hi, could you please remind me which Aries Ingress ascendant modality means Aries cover whole year, and which means we need to look Libra. Which we look for cardinal. Please.
Yes, no problem. So what that person's referring to, well done, they were obviously listening.
Astrofly. Hi. Astrofly inside.
Hi, Astrofly. Okay. So quite right. In traditional astrology, this is the Renaissance technique anyway. There's not one tradition. But in the Renaissance sort of techniques, sort of Middle Ages and Renaissance, medieval Renaissance technology, they would use the rising sign of the Ingress chart, and they look at the Aries Ingress, because that's the first one of the year in the tradition. Aries was the start of the new year, the Aries Ingress in the tradition. It wasn't the 1st of January is a modern invention. So they used that rising sign, and if it was cardinal or movable, that chart would only be relevant for 3 months. If it was immutable, double-bodied bicorporeal sign, same thing, the chart would be viable for 6 months. And if it was fixed, the chart would be viable for the year. Now, I personally would still go ahead and look at the ingresses for the whole year anyway, just as secondary information.
Yeah.
But this year, the rising sign in the UK, now remember, it's going to be different wherever you are in the world. So you've got
yes, exactly. Yes.
Ingress time wherever you are in the world. But for the UK, for London, the Ingress chart this year had Gemini rising.
I think so, yes.
Aries ingress was Gemini rising. So
yeah.
that would have been valid for 6 months, i.e. until this ingress. So this ingress is the second half of the year.
Yeah. So very, very practical information. If you're using this kind of technique, I think it's pretty interesting. Even, even I'm more inclined to the modern approach. But when I hear about this, I usually looking in this way. And so, like when the Aries ingress is a fixed sign, I will literally pay more focus on the Aries ingress chart. Yeah, sure. But nevertheless, this Libra ingress chart is pretty important, especially for here we are. Yes, and then okay, let me give you a little bit my view of this chart. I think is not only for UK, because I was. Not only for UK, we see that angular Uranus, which means revolution, which means rebelling, which means like unusual things, or maybe some shocking news coming over. I usually don't use the modern ruler, but in this case, in mountain chart, it could be ruler of 11th house, could be mean Parliament, or in UK's case, this could be either Scottish government or Wales government or North Ireland government, 11th house, ruled by Uranus. So they kind of parliament in the 11th house. So that kind of things we should be focused to. Hello, Marcus. Are you still there?
You froze for me there, Rod. So I missed a whole bunch of.
Yeah, that's right. Because I saw you get blank. I say, have I do anything wrong? Anyway, I'm not going to repeat, but I was just talking about in the modern sense, Uranus ruler Aquarius in 11th house. So it's related to Parliament and also some part of a local government. What I mean is the Scottish government, Welsh, and North Ireland. That could be something, something quite important. Maybe. Need to focus. Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is Pluto. This big Pluto there. It's like it scares me. It scares me. Yeah, but me too. We need to be careful with that. Well, and this Pluto does mean maybe we will hear about something about our government, something going to dig out, some secret going to be dig out, and which we are not surprised. This government is always have a lot of funny things, and we just like and they were just like, yeah, I did it, so what? Bite me. Really, to be honest, I mean, when I see them, they just like they all behave like this. Yeah, I did wrong, so what?
Yeah. No, well, I think this is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because you pointed out to me, Rod, that this has a moon, Mercury,
Mercury, and the Pluto. This would be whole world. This is not only UK.
Yes, exactly.
And the moon, if we take a simple, very simple delineation about the moon, people, maybe especially female.
For the whole, because even though the angles and the houses that the planets rule are, of course, going to be different for every location in the world.
Yeah.
The configurations, the aspects the planets making to each other are going to be the same for the whole world for this ingress. So the fact that Moon is opposing Mercury and squaring Pluto, both of them are squaring Pluto, is the same for the whole world. So that really is this sort of really, how would you describe that? It's like the forcible or disruptive revealing of information, which that was a Freudian slip there, saying information, which is sort of, well, you could say incendiary or upsetting to the public, or it just upsets people, riles people up, and it could also be the deliberate manipulation of information to upset people or to incite disorder in some way. That's the other possibility, because Pluto is always, Mercury Pluto is always about manipulation of information. And information that is Pluto's always connected to stuff that's really psychologically difficult, unconscious, kind of triggering. Triggering is the word, I think. So this is sort of conversations and the appearance of information in public, which is potentially very triggering, I think.
Yes,
whether that may be.
And another thing is, if we look about this, I mean, I heard about a lot of people complain about it, but for those people who may be like they are more aware about the children's health or the student, the school is open now. They have like vaccinated the student and the little kids. This mercury is there with Pluto, and the moon was like, we worry about it.
The good thing about this from that point of view, the one good thing about this is that Mercury is actually on the fixed star Spica in this chart.
Yes.
So Spica is a star at 24 degrees tropical Libra, using northern tropical, that is. So Spica is very protective. And so I'd interpret that in two ways. I think the good things that will come from that are that children will be protected to some degree from the worst possibilities, and whatever they may be, on any eventuality. And also there may be some helpful technological developments. Some of the information that is revealed, however shocking or upsetting or whatever. I mean, like, we haven't had enough tribalism and people going off their rocker, but whatever craziness it kind of incites may be quite helpful in some way. You know what I mean? So it's not all dark.
Yes, no, I agree with you. So, but this T square, around different place would be placed in the different houses. But for UK, it is 6th house, 12th house, and 10th house. Oh God, we have this house. There's a 6th house about illness, 6th house about animal, and 12th house institution, prison, and hospital, and the government. I hope they can really handle it very well. I really wish.
I mean, this is like, if you look at each of those things, also Mercury rules the 6th and the second house.
Yes.
So to me, that it's something, and the moon rules what, the 3rd house of sort of information. There's loads of ways that could play out, but for example, it could be the revealing of some sort of information that about nursing or about care home, or so this comes out in the media because that's the 3rd house, and it's about how the government has tried to maybe bury certain information or manipulate, because that Pluto is in the 10th. So the Pluto, the planet that ultimately exposes and reveals, and it's kind of like bursting. This is really like a really itchy boil that comes up and then has a burst, because the moon rules swellings and Mercury sort of rules itching medically, and Pluto is these sort of things that sort of come to the surface and then sort of explode.
One thing it remind me is what happened recently is about there is not enough driver, HGV driver, the big driver, and then the shortage of the food on the supermarket shelf. I think I take it as a 2nd house and 3rd house,
Yes, and then, very good, very
and the food could be related to moon. And see this cardinal T square there. I was wondering, could UK government handle this well? I mean,
probably not. I mean, there's one saving grace here, sort of, which I see is that trine between Mercury and Jupiter.
Oh yes.
But in the UK, Jupiter rules 2 crappy houses. It rules the 8th and the 12th. So it's kind of like, oh great. So the disease is in a friendly agreement with death and suffering. Whoopie-doo. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. Mercury Jupiter makes the information spread and makes people understand it and causes people to perhaps revise some of their thinking about things and revise their belief systems and discuss it more openly. I think that's the best thing that can be said.
Yeah. To be honest, it's not everything we're going to see the gloomy side only. Okay. Our audience also remind us the Mercury goes retrograde on 27th. Yes. On 27th. So a few days, I think it's a 5 day after this Libra Ingress, and Mercury will go retrograde. We will talk about it later. And but I think yes, it does kind of something. This Mercury is pretty tricky in this chart.
It's an interesting one because it actually it goes retro and then goes, so it connects with Pluto and Jupiter. Pluto by square and Jupiter by trine 3 times over a couple of months, I think. So it's very interesting. It's sort of like that same revealing and spreading and digesting, which is Jupiter, of information over a sort of couple of months period.
So generally speaking, I think this is not, especially for UK, for London, it's not an easy chart. What do you think?
I think it's not. It really depends partly where you are in the world, I would say, because obviously, you know, somewhere else they might have Jupiter on an angle and it might be ruling
to be honest,
so they might have quite a nice quarter actually, because the moon is heading towards the sextile of Jupiter.
Well, I remember because I did a little bit about China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. I remember one of them probably have a Jupiter pretty close to this to angle, but
what house it rules there, they actually might have quite a bit of fresh air.
No, because that I remember it sounds like Taiwan or Hong Kong has the Jupiter around the descendant, but the ruler 8th house. I was like,
well, that's crap. So it really does depend.
I just flip. This is a White House.
Where's this? Oh, is this the US?
US,
okay, no,
and there's no angular planet, so it's like okay, but you can see that this is the 3rd house, 9th house, and the 1st house. So you know, 1st house, Pluto in the 1st house, Saturn in the 1st house. Well, it's okay, but I think that would be like a little bit tough to, you know, that Pluto in the angular.
This is a really interesting one because we've got Saturn squaring the MC IC. So that Saturn is made very prominent by that, but we also have sorry for any, we will talk about this technique at some time. It's a pain to explain though, but Anticyon, Jupiter is conjunct to the midheaven by Anticyon.
Okay.
We've got Venus in the 10th.
I see.
This is a really interesting mixed bag sort of thing where you've got explicit sort of like that Saturn is going to fully constipate the government and the domestic sort of economy, ruling the 2nd and the 1st. You've got this loggerheads impasse situation over financial decisions, over domestic decisions and stuff like that. But then you've got this sort of invisible assistance from Jupiter, and you've got Venus from in the 10th, sort of, which is gonna. Venus is a mixed bag here because she's in detriment in Scorpio, so it's kind of like helping on the one hand and then making the situation messier on the other. So it's kind of, it's not, I'd say this is difficult, but on the whole probably less bad than the UK.
You want to see German because on the 25th, I think it's 25th or 26th, they have election because Angela Merkel going to step down.
Actually, I was gonna say that is again not quite as bad as the UK chart, I'd say, because although it looks like Saturn's really close to the MC, which it is, the ascendant is Gemini, so Saturn is not in the 10th sign from the ascendant.
See. Okay.
It's difficult.
Yes.
So
it's tough.
And I don't know whether that would be I think that looks to me like Merkel or the incumbent will return if they have an election in this.
It's very interesting because at this moment the poll shows her party is coming down and the opposition the opposition party is coming up. So when I see this, I just like I really want to ask Tanya to do a little bit interpretation about this.
Yes,
She probably know it much better.
I need to do a bit of revision. John Frawley is very good on this. His book Sports Astrology is excellent for these kinds of things. Because I mean, he does it in horror astrology, but he's very good on this sort of competition thing. So you'd look at the 10th house as the incumbent, the ruler, and the 4th house as the opposition.
Well,
in this house, the 10th house ruler, the problem with the 10th house ruler is she's retrograde.
Probably when
in this thing, I could look at that as the government returning into power because the opposition, the sun, is sort of in fall. So, but I don't know. I mean,
it's quite interesting because I have a similar idea when I look this chart, but I just but it's contradict with the with the statistic with polls. So I just well, we probably need to look. Probably also have to look on the Aries English chart to make our decision.
Yeah, and also have a look at the opening of the poll.
Yeah, opening of the poll. That's more. My favorite technique for the election is that one.
Yes,
that is pretty interesting.
That's the best one because this is going to be not just speaking to the election. This chart.
Yeah, this is a general phenomenon.
Everything happening in Germany for this quarter. So,
but it couldn't stop us to think about it because it's like a few days after this election. This chart could suggest something, Anyway, it's very interesting. We talk about the Libra Ingress, and we even mentioned about a lot of different things. This is so interesting. Thank you, Marcus. And then, and today we have a lot of, our audience interact with us. Thank you, everyone. That is so interesting to have you here.
Please do write any comments and questions.
Yes,
we do read them, and we'll look at them, and we'll,
yes, exactly.
At some point.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. And by the way, sorry, before I finish it, because we're talking about English chart, and Shara and I going to give us a talk on the 2nd of October, and it's about English chart, how to use English chart in mundane astrology, and I have to what we call give a little bit more info tease, right? Give a little bit tease. She showed me the slides because I went down to see her. When I went to do the photo, and I went down to see her, she showed me the slide she did. She picked up some very interesting topic about the year when the American president get assassinated.
Oh, Kennedy.
Those not only one, a few of them.
Lincoln
Lincoln and Kennedy and another one. I don't know. I'm not really.
Me either.
But she picked at least three of that, and then she showed us the English has some pattern there.
Oh, fascinating.
If you are interested in it, please, I will post the enroll link there, and please join us. That will be
where will that be posted, Rod? Is that going to be in the?
I will post it on the YouTube. I will post it on the YouTube
in the description box.
The description box. Then yes, cool. And that will be super interesting. Okay, so it's on 2nd of October, and then on 20th of September next week we have Christine Skinner talking about declination in mundane astrology.
Amazing. All right.
This is all the beef, juicy beef. So if you're interested in this course, follow us, okay?
Just a note, is Christine going to be talking about financial astrology with the declination as well? Yes and no. Okay, she's going to talk about the declination in mundane astrology on 25th of September. But she's going to give a talk about introduction to financial astrology in November. Okay, brilliant.
It's over our school, so yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mark.